Good evening, everyone. So, how is the audio video? Is it clear? Can we proceed? Okay, all right. So, how do you, did you go through federalism, center state relations from your textbook? Do you have any doubts? Are things clear? Any issues? Have you studied the entire chapter on center state relations? If you have studied, then I'll ask you a question then. Okay, zonal councils in interstate, right? See, zonal councils, they are also bodies for informal discussions. They are also bodies for sorting out disputes between states, because states were all divided under the States Reorganization Act. So just because one day you drew a line and you demarcated boundaries and you separated Haryana from Punjab doesn't mean that everything will become right. The same mistake, the same problems which arose when Pakistan was formed by Radcliffe, right? When Punjab was broken, East Punjab, West Punjab, and a part of Punjab went to Pakistan, but still you cannot stop sharing of resources. You cannot stop sharing of forests and minerals and such things, right? So that is why by creating states, you would still have problems between the newly formed states. So this was recognized by the States Reorganization Act, by the Commission, Reorganization Commission, and that is why when States Reorganization Act was passed, the legislation itself had a provision for creation of bodies which can sort out disputes between a group of states. Okay, so let's say South Zone. You have some 4 or 5 states. So those states will all be a part of that zone, and if they have any issues common to them, they can sit together, they can resolve those disputes. So zonal councils are also one other dispute resolution mechanism between states. Instead of all the states being represented there, it will be a group of states alone, group of states which are contiguous in borders maybe, which belong to a particular part of country. So you have a total of, I think, 5 different zones all over, 5 different zones which has all the states. So that is what the zonal councils. So you have to just read from Lakshmikant whatever is given, and what is the composition of zonal councils that you will have to notice. There isn't much to be discussed about zonal councils. These bodies and all, they are not actually useful in any way for your mains. Maybe for your prelims, they may ask you about which states belong to which zone. You see, I mean, UPSC is not asking any questions from these areas since the pattern had changed in 2013. Those are very factual areas alone, but still you can just know that zonal councils are not constitutional bodies. They are not set up under the constitution, but they are statutory bodies created by States Reorganization Commission, States Reorganization Act. And what would be the composition, who was the chairman, all that is given in your Lakshmikant. So you have to just broadly go through it, that's all. So I'll ask you a question then. A bill for changing the definition of what income means. Okay, if the center wants to first, if the center wants to introduce a bill so as to change the definition of income, okay, in that case, does it require the prior consultation with the states? Does the parliament have to first get the consultation of the states? Only then can they introduce it or not? Have you come across any such thing in your Lakshmikant? A bill for changing the definition of what an income means, if it is introduced, does it require prior consultation or concurrence of the states? Is it working? Are we all connected? Is it online? Okay, yes, all right. So did you come across any such thing in your textbook? There are certain safeguards which are provided in the constitution. Let's say if the center wants to impose any surcharge, so can the state legislature impose any cess or surcharge? Can they do it? Let's say there is petroleum, and a new cess or a surcharge has to be levied on petroleum. Can the state governments respectively lay down their own cess and surcharge on petroleum? Can they do that? No, because we have already seen power to levy a cess or a surcharge is only exclusively in the hands of center alone. But is there any safeguard to prevent arbitrary use of this power by the center? Okay, because cess and surcharge is going to be only in the hands of center. It is not going to be divided between center and states. So, does the constitution provide for any kind of a safeguard in this matter? Did you read it? If you have read it, you would have come across this. Any safeguard to prevent arbitrary cess or surcharge from by center? Did you come across any such provisions? Article 289. Okay. So what is the content? Tell me what does it say? Article 289. No, 289 has nothing to do with cess or a surcharge. This is about taxation. This is about what I said yesterday. If a state government is involved in any manufacturing activities, so that will not be liable to be taxed. That is what Article 289 is. So, are you guys going to answer or are you not going to answer? Can you at least type no so that I need not wait and I'll just go forward? No answer. Just type no answer. Nil, zero, anything. Okay, no answer. Basically, what Constitution says is, if you want to impose a cess or a surcharge, if the center wants to impose, it has to get the prior recommendation of the president. It is only after that such a bill can even be introduced. Similarly, a bill for changing the definition of income. Let's say if agriculture has if right now the definition of income covers house rent, it covers salary, it covers profits from business. Okay, so apart from that, if the center wants to bring in agriculture also as a part of earnings from agriculture also, if that is going to be taxed, okay, if that is the case, even then it means a definition of income is going to be changed. Even in that case, the president's prior recommendation has to be got. So these are all some of the ways in which Constitution tries to give a safeguard against center arbitrarily infringing into states, or center becoming high-handed in levying more and more cess and surcharge. So some kind of a constitutional safeguard is available. Okay, so you have to go through your textbook. If you have any doubts, please come and ask me in the next class at least. Are you clear about interstate trade and commerce? Are you clear about whether restrictions can be placed on interstate trade and commerce? Are we good with that? Yes. Okay. All right. So we'll move on. We'll move on to the next topic. Local self-government. Okay. So before we get into the constitutional provisions, I'd like to ask you some questions about local self-government. Did India have, or let me ask you, put it this way, the system of panchayats were set up in India for the first time after the commencement of 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992. I know some of you would have read the chapter, so that's why I'm asking you this question. The system of panchayats came into existence after the commencement of 73rd Amendment Act 1992. Is it a correct statement? Okay, no, false. Why so? Nehru brought it. Okay. Any other answers? It existed even before in an informal way. Okay. Any other answers? It was not brought in by Nehru. It was there even before independence. It was in existence for like 2000, 3000 years. As long as our Mahajanapadas had been existing, since then we have been having the concept of panchayats, the system of 5 elders of the village deciding over what is important for the village. Okay, so the system had been in existence for a long time, something which has continued, okay, and which was recognized by the Britishers also. In fact, panchayats were in existence even before independence, and even after independence, panchayats were existing. Panchayats earlier, before 1992, because 1992 was when the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act was actually passed. Yeah, so Archana's answer is right. 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992 was passed. Even before that, panchayats were existing because local self-government, it was a subject of list 2 of 7th schedule. Okay, so it was at the discretion of the states. So some states, because it is a subject matter of state list, so it was up to the states. If the states wanted to create panchayats, they can create. Some states will have a 3-tier structure, some states will have a 4-tier structure, some will have 2-tier structure, some will not even have panchayats only. So it was all completely haphazard across states. There was no uniformity in functions, no uniformity in the powers given to panchayats, no uniformity in the way they were funded. So panchayats were not actually very effective before the 73rd Amendment Act 1992. So they were just left to the discretion of the state governments. And do you think, see, these when we discuss about center-state relations, you would have got this mental picture that center is very discriminatory. Center wants to concentrate all the powers to itself. Poor state governments, they are not getting any powers from the center. But the state governments are also as bad as center. They would not want to let go of their powers in the hands of panchayats. Okay, anybody who has power does not want to share it at the lower levels. Same is the case with state governments also. They did not want to share powers with lower level of bodies. So that is why panchayats were not really functioning as effectively as it was conceived by the constitution makers. Okay, so that is why there was a need to bring a constitutional amendment. 73rd Amendment Act was passed, and it ensured independent existence, assured its existence, an assured source of funding, assured timely elections. A lot of things became formalized, regularized, and panchayats became a reality with a proper structure, proper composition after this Amendment Act. So what we need to know is, even before 73rd Amendment, panchayats were existing. 73rd Amendment Act, all that it brought was, it brought in standardization of the structure. It brought in assured source of funding for the panchayats. And it brought in reservation for the panchayats. It brought in a proper election mechanism for conducting elections to panchayats. So a lot of good things were brought so as to rectify everything that was wrong about the panchayat system that was existing before 73rd Amendment Act. Okay, so this is the purpose of 73rd Amendment Act. So never think till 73rd Amendment Act we did not have panchayats. One fine day, because the act was passed, after that panchayats came into existence in India. That's not the case. So let us also look into the various discussions and debates which had gone into the Constituent Assembly regarding panchayat system in India. If you were to look at the Constituent Assembly debates, there were two schools of thought, okay, on local self-government. Do we require local self-government or not? Already you had a union and you had a state government. So should we go even below that? Should we create a structure at lower levels or not? So this was a question before the Constituent Assembly, and a lot of discussions and debates had taken place. So you can find that there were broadly two schools of thought. One of the school was against, for panchayats. The other divided opinion was against panchayats. So this group were the Gandhians, okay, followers of Gandhiji, those people from rural background. So they actually wanted to have a strong panchayat system, a local governance system. But any idea who would have opposed panchayats in the Constituent Assembly? What do you know about panchayats? Can you imagine any group of people opposing panchayats? Who could they be? That's very good. Ambedkar, right. The father of the constitution himself was against panchayats. And in addition to him, even Nehru also was on this side. He was also against the panchayat system. So why? Why do you think these people would have opposed panchayats? Instead of saying they were against panchayats, they actually wanted power to be in the hands of the highest levels of government. These people, they did not want powers to be given to lower levels, but for some group of people, power had to be given to lower levels. Okay, so why? Because of caste excesses in village. Okay, power sharing issue will happen. Ambedkar Panchayat stress on casteism. Right. Basically, both of them had different reasons. Okay, for Jawaharlal Nehru, he was influenced by the USSR centralized planning model, command economy, where the center is at commanding heights. Center will decide what is good for the people, right? So because that's the kind of paternalistic outlook that a socialist state, a communist state has towards a society. For Nehru, he did not want lower levels to interfere with the development of the country. Okay, so let's say if Tamil Nadu has to develop, you have to develop industries here. But to develop industries, you have to have minerals taken from Odisha, you have to bring it here. If panchayats are given the say, if panchayats are given the voice and the decisive say to decide whether minerals should be taken out or not, do you think these panchayats will actually accept? Do you think the panchayats will accept to chromite being mined from Odisha and brought to Tamil Nadu for Tamil Nadu's development? Do you think they will accept? They will not. That is why Nehru did not want to give away powers. Nehru did not want to give away powers to lower levels. He felt then it is not possible to develop the country. Okay, so he favored a strong state. And for Dr. Ambedkar, things are different. For Dr. Ambedkar, the state was an instrument of social upliftment of the people. It is for the purpose of protecting the downtrodden. That is how he viewed the state. So how is it possible? It is only possible when you have a group of people who will not be influenced by caste prejudices, who will not favor a group of people just because they happen to be the same caste. A collector or a sub-collector from outside the state, if I go and work in Odisha, then definitely I would not actually mind about whichever caste the people are. I would just work independently. But if power is given to each and every panchayats, mostly power will be grabbed by the dominant sections of the society, and they would only favor their own group of people. And Ambedkar clearly knew the numerical minority, the lack of numerical strength of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. And in this electoral democracy, they don't really actually have a chance, winning chance. He was aware of all these problems. So he was very conscious that power will always be in the hands of a dominant elite group of people who would further use that power to strengthen their own position. So Ambedkar did not have any high hopes on powers being given to lower levels. He wanted power at somewhat higher levels beyond the scope of panchayats. Okay, so if you have the same dominant caste person as a policeman in that particular area, so he would definitely be subjugating the lower castes. So no social upliftment is possible, and untouchability cannot be eradicated if it is, and so that is because Dr. Ambedkar's experience dealing with village societies have been like that, right? So that is why Dr. Ambedkar was reluctant to give powers in the hands of this group of people at the panchayat levels. He was suspicious of their character, right? So that is why we had one school which was against decentralization, which was against giving power in the hands of panchayats. But on the other hand, we have this group who believed in the goodness of panchayats, because they thought that the state in India is just a newly created and independent country, and the state will not be pervasive to reach each and every last mile. It's not going to work out. And in such a large country like India, we cannot just run the country with a certain group of government officials alone. Not possible. So hence they wanted to give power as much as possible to the lower levels, because lower levels are the one, panchayats are the levels where they can be on a direct interaction with the villagers, right? So they felt, and there's also another principle, okay, which is called as principle of subsidiarity. So what it says is, if a work can be done at lower levels, it must be done at the lower levels. Okay, so let's say I am a district collector, I do a file work, and of course I can take the file myself, I can walk for half kilometer and go and give it in the next office. But my peon can also do that work. A 10th standard peon can also do this work. But reading the file and comprehending it and giving my decision is something which only I can do. The peon cannot do, right? So do you think taking the file and going and giving it to the next office, should I be directly doing it? Is it necessary that I should do it? Or will it be okay even if my peon does it? So that is the same principle here. Certain functions like protecting India, defense of India, nuclear energy, these are functions which cannot be done by lower levels. Hence, they should be done by top levels of government. But certain functions like taking care of milch cattle, taking care of common grazing grounds in the village, looking into the markets inside the villages, those are all functions which does not require a union government or a state government's intervention. Very simple functions. So it should be done at the lowest possible levels. So this was also another reason why there was another school which believed in the necessity of panchayats, which believed in decentralization, right? But so much of discussions, debates was going on, and this school was successful. It was successful. That is why in the draft constitution, you will not even find a single mention of the word panchayats. The draft constitution does not talk anything about panchayats. So Gandhiji was heartbroken that panchayats are not recognized in India. And while the draft constitution was tabled and it was being discussed, during that time Gandhiji was assassinated. Okay, so then this group of people were also they were also moved by his assassination. So they wanted to respect him, and they wanted to realize his dream of, because Gandhiji said India lives in its villages, right? So Gandhi's experience was contrastingly opposite to Dr. Ambedkar. Because Gandhiji happened to be from a higher caste, he was not a lower caste like Ambedkar. So his experience of panchayats was always a positive one. So that is why he felt that panchayats are capable of doing the best possible thing for the village society. And moreover, you have to understand about Gandhiji's temperament, his attitude towards industrialization, modernization. So, do you think Gandhiji was favorable for Western modernization, industrial economy? Was Gandhiji a fan of industrial economy? Okay, no. But why? Why was he against the Western pattern of development? What is the reason? Because of exploitation, that's correct. Creates unemployment. No. Unemployment, to solve unemployment, you need industrialization. That is not the issue here. Minimalism is the correct answer, right? Through commercial power, political power could be consolidated. Right, all answers are correct. So, it is a matter of their spiritual differences, right? It's a matter of their philosophical differences. Gandhiji believed in in need, yeah, you can say minimal way of living, one that does not have exploitation. So where men are treated as men and not as a part of this industrial machinery. So, and Gandhiji he was not in favor of urbanization only in the first place, because he felt urban areas are excessive, are places of excessive consumerism, because the urban areas are where people consume more than they actually require. In rural areas, you will not have pastries or cakes or sizzlers or such things, right? All that is processed foods. Processed foods involves a lot of processing, lot of wastage. Do you really require to eat sizzlers to survive? No, it is not required. Okay, maybe it's not at all required. Basically, it is just there to satisfy your taste buds. That's all. So it is not your need, but it's more of your greed. It's more of your wants rather than your needs, right? So Gandhiji wanted to avoid anything that is against the basic needs of human beings. He believed in simplicity, austerity. So such a kind of a person viewed urbanization and industrialization, everything with suspicion, because power gets concentrated in the hands of a few, whereas in village societies, it's even better. Okay, yes, village societies have their own problems, but there everybody is poor, not many people are so rich, but here power tends to get concentrated in the hands, economic power gets concentrated in the hands of one person exploiting 10,000 people. Maybe in village societies, it would be 100 people exploiting 1,000 people. So he felt that exploitation is better than this exploitation. So with all these kind of notions, Gandhiji did not, and Gandhiji also believed in the goodness of village society, where each man produces what is required for the collective society. A potter produces pots. He believed villages are self-contained units, and that is true. That is how villages have survived for so many years. Everything that is required for this village habitants are available within the village society, village economy itself. Agricultural produce, whatever is required for them to survive. Textiles, cotton, coarse cotton or khadi, everything can be produced within the society itself. Milk products within the society, basic tools, ironsmith, pots, everything can be managed within the society. So when people can live happily within that society itself, why do you want to create new and new needs by, when you move to urban societies, that's how it happens. You start desiring for things, but in rural societies, that is not the case. People are having a contented life without exploitation. So with all those ideas in his mind, Gandhiji favored a rural way of development. He did not want an urbanized way of development. He favored a rural way of development, right? So, uh, so, so this was all Gandhi's thoughts. And meanwhile, when the draft constitution was being discussed, Gandhiji was assassinated. So that is why the constitution makers tried to balance. They incorporated panchayat's provisions also in the constitution, but it was not made as an enforceable part. It was only kept in the directive principles. It was kept in directive principles that the state shall endeavor to constitute village panchayats and endow them with necessary resources. So it was kept as a directive, not as a mandatory part of the constitution. And it was left to the discretion of the states, because at that point of time there were so many problems in making panchayats mandatory. There was also a reality that you have to face. Okay, in 1950s, 6% was the literacy rate. That is, people who can read and write. Out of them, how many of them can actually do some meaningful work with the education? It would be even lesser than that. If that is the case, you have union executive, you have state executive. If you go lower levels, in each and every village, you will have to create a administrative machinery. Do you think this machinery can actually even have the necessary workforce? Do you think this machinery can actually do any meaningful file work? What will be the where can you fix the accountability when they cannot even understand any written communication? So practical considerations were also a reason why panchayats were not made mandatory when the constitution commenced. Practical considerations of literacy, practical consideration of poor state of health of the country itself, poor state of economic health of the country. We do not have so much of resources. That is why it was decided, let us give it to the states. If each and every state governments, if they feel they have the necessary funds, if they have necessary qualified manpower to even go to the level of panchayats, let them constitute panchayats. Let's not make it mandatory. So these were some of the reasons why panchayats were not made as a mandatory provision of the constitution. It was only kept as a direction. It was kept as a directive principles, a grand vision for the states. If they want, let them implement it. Okay. So this is the background behind creation of Panchayat Raj system in India. So the problems is, it was left to the states discretion. So from 1950 commencement of constitution until 1992, Panchayat systems had indeed developed, but they had a lot of problems. What are the problems? So these kind of problems were there during this period of time, because of which these problems were all rectified by the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992. So we'll try to look into the features of 73rd Amendment Act of 1992. It is to sort out these problems. The Amendment Act was passed. So I'll ask you a question. Some of you might have come across this word called as three-tier structure. Three-tier structure. Have you come across this word when you have gone through your textbooks? Yes. So what does it mean? What does it mean? Three-tier structure. What does it actually mean? Does it mean central government, state government, and panchayats? Does it mean that? Very good. Village, intermediate, and district level panchayats. Right. The first advantage of 73rd Constitutional Amendment, the first feature is that it created a three-tier structure of panchayats. So what do we understand by this three-tier structure? Before that, let me first give you a description, a diagram of how a district looks like. Okay, you have a district. Let's say a district has a population of 20 lakhs. So this district, at the level of district level of administration, you have two broad functions. One is what is called as revenue administration. Other one is what is called as development administration. So this is the traditional administration. Okay, this is what Britishers have been doing. Development as a function of administration is a new concept. It comes into existence along with the concept of welfare state. So these are new functions, these are old functions. So that is why, what is this revenue function? Revenue function is collecting revenue, maintaining law and order, right? So district administration, it converges at the level of district collector. Here you have the revenue functions. So under the collector, a district, so this is at the district level, revenue functions. So under the district level, you have a subdivisional level, so headed by the sub collector. Okay, and under that you have what is called as tahsils. Under that you have what is called as revenue circles. So this is headed by a tahsildar, then revenue inspector. It goes on like this. This is not what we are going to study in this chapter. We are not bothered about the revenue administration. We are not bothered panchayats. So what you have to know is panchayats do not take care of law and order functions. Panchayats are not into revenue collection, land revenue, land rent. They are not into that task. They are not there to protect government land. All that is a function of a revenue administration. We will look into the development side of administration. So when it comes to development side, a district, the 20 lakh population is divided into blocks. Okay, these are what are called as blocks. So maybe each block can have around usually they'll have around maximum of 1 lakh population, not more than that. So there might be some 20 blocks here. Okay, and each block is divided into this one unit is what can be called as a gram panchayat. Okay, and each gram panchayat is divided into a lot of villages. Let's say some 15 to 20 villages constitute one gram panchayat. 15 to 20 gram panchayats constitute a block. 15 to 20 blocks constitute a district. This is the terminology, nomenclature that you will use for development administration. So you have a district at the top, then you have blocks, then you have gram panchayat, then you have village as the unit. Okay, and you have respective officials at different levels. At the level of a district, you have bodies also. Okay, these are different levels. At district level body, you have a body which is called as Zilla Parishad. For a block with a population of 50,000 to 1 lakh, it varies from state to state. Okay, in urban areas, in a state like Tamil Nadu, you'll have more population. In states like Odisha, population is sparsely distributed, so there the population will be lesser. So at block level, you have a body which is called as Panchayat Samiti. You can call it as Mandal Panchayat. You can call by such names. Okay, at the level of Gram Panchayat level, it's Gram Panchayat only. It's called as Gram Panchayat. And in village level, you have a body called as Gram Sabha. Okay. So a village might have a population of approximately around 5,000 people. Not 5,000. A village, sorry, 500 people. The Gram Panchayat may have a population of 5,000 people approximately. Okay, just for visualization, I'm giving you these numbers. A block might have a population of 50,000. A district maybe 5 lakh to 10 lakh or 20 lakh, whatever it might be. So imagine this is the size of the unit, territorial units. You have all these kind of different bodies. Okay. So you can find that there are 4 bodies: Zilla Parishad, Mandal Panchayat, Gram Panchayat, and Gram Sabha. Then why is it called as a 3-tier structure? Yeah, 4 bodies, right? So then why are you calling it as a 3-tier structure? It should be a 4-tier structure. Okay, because at the village level, right, very good. Yes, elections happen only for 3 tiers, and yeah, the actual execution of any scheme, the real decision making powers, the real implementers are only these 3 levels. At the last level, no execution, no implementation, no planning, nothing happens at the level of Gram Sabha. It's only at these 3 levels they are formally involved in administration, they are formally involved in execution. Accountability will be fixed only in these 3 levels. Gram Sabha, you have to just understand what is the meaning of Gram Sabha. Gram Sabha means it's a body of all villagers who are eligible to vote. That's all. All adult members, not eligible to vote, all adult members of that village, they are all members of Gram Sabha. So no election or nothing. Just because you are an adult, more than 18 years, you are a member of Gram Sabha. Okay. So only these 3 levels are actually involved in execution. We'll study these 3 levels. So you have Zilla Parishad for a district. For a block, you have what can be called as Panchayat Samiti or a Mandal Panchayat. For a group of villages, you have what is called as Gram Panchayat. Okay. So now elections have to be held for choosing members to these bodies. Okay. Elections will be conducted. So you have members and you have chairpersons. Chairperson, correct? So it's a body, a multi-member body. So you have to choose members to these bodies. So how are elections conducted? It is to conduct elections to these 3 bodies. The 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, it creates a new authority called as State Election Commission. Okay, we have Election Commission of India, but Election Commission of India is only concerned about conducting elections to the office of President, Vice President, members of Lok Sabha, members of Rajya Sabha, state legislature. That's all. So no other body is Election Commission concerned about elections. To conduct elections to these local bodies, 73rd Amendment Act creates a new body called as State Election Commission. I'll just explain to you what it is after some time. So you have to conduct elections, right? So to all these 3 levels, let's say at the district level, the Zilla Parishad might have a 50-member body. It might be approximately 50 members. Panchayat Samiti may be a 25-member body or 20-member body maximum. Even this is big, not even 20. Could be 10 to 15 members. A Gram Panchayat can be a 5-member body or a 7-member body. Okay. So how are these members chosen? These members, 50 members, 20 members, all these members are chosen by direct elections. Okay. So now we have conducted elections. Can the same person contest to all 3 bodies? Is it possible? Can one person contest elections to all the 3 bodies? No, he cannot. Okay. So elections are conducted, members are filled. This is all there in the Constitution, 3-tier structure, the members being filled through direct election, all that is given. How are the chairpersons chosen? Can someone tell me? How are the chairpersons chosen at all the three levels? Can you give me the correct answer? To conduct the meetings, to preside over the meetings of this body, to be the final authority in deciding, you need to have one chairperson of all the three bodies. How are they chosen? Indirect election. Okay. Indirect election. Please don't tell, please don't say it's a method of indirect election. There is no election. Okay. When you say indirect election, do you mean to say that it is done on the same lines as that of Rajya Sabha elections or to legislative councils in the state legislature? There we have a system of indirect elections. Okay. They will be chosen by representatives of the people. They will participate in elections. But here we don't have any elections. No elections are conducted or anything. Yes, chosen from amongst the members is the correct word. In these two levels, chairpersons are, the chairperson is chosen from amongst the members of these bodies. At the lower level, Gram Panchayat level, it can either be this, or you can hold a direct election, a separate election for this purpose also. So this will be decided by the respective state legislature by law. So do you understand? So I'll tell you how. In the state where I was working in Odisha, so the chairperson of Gram Panchayat, you take Gram Panchayat, the chairperson is called as Sarpanch, the first among the five. Sir is prime, okay, the prime of the five members. So how is he chosen? There are direct elections will be held. So the villagers will all come, voting machine will be there, and they have to, or ballot box will be there, and they have to cast their vote in favor of the Sarpanch candidate. So two elections will be conducted for Gram Panchayats. One is to choose members. There will be a list of candidates. To contest election as a Sarpanch, you have a list of candidates. So that way you also have a direct elections being conducted. But in many other states, Sarpanch is chosen from amongst the members. The 7 members will sit together. They will decide who will be their Sarpanch. That is also possible. So it varies from state to state, because Constitution says that how a Sarpanch will be chosen is to be decided by the state legislature by making a separate law. Okay. So Tamil Nadu has a Tamil Nadu Panchayat Act, Odisha Panchayat Act, West Bengal Panchayat Act, whichever year they might have been passed. So based on that, the Sarpanch is actually chosen. So you have to be very clear about this methodology. Okay. How are members chosen? To all 3 levels, direct elections. How are the chairpersons chosen? For the first 2 levels, from amongst the members they are chosen. Only at the last stage alone, that is at the level of Gram Panchayat, the chairperson who is called by the name Sarpanch is actually chosen by either of the 2 methods. Okay. So what is the eligibility? So next is we'll just discuss something about elections. And while we discuss about elections, we'll also discuss about reservations also. Okay. Okay. So what is the eligibility to contest elections to these 3 levels? Does the Constitution prescribe any eligibility conditions? Is there an age limit, age eligibility criteria? Is it there? Okay. Age of 21, right? So Constitution says, okay, I'll ask you a different kind of question. What if a member is disqualified from contesting elections to parliament? Okay, contesting elections to state legislature. Do you know how a person can be disqualified from contesting elections to state legislature? Are you aware of the method? How can a person be disqualified from contesting elections to state legislature? Are you aware of any method, any ways of how they can be disqualified? criminal proceedings. No. Just because there are proceedings in a court pending doesn't mean that you are disqualified. No. Yeah, jail for more than 2 years for criminal charge. That's very correct. There are few sections in Representation of People's Act 1951. Section 8, Section 8A. There are two different sections. Broadly, you keep in mind, if you are a criminal, if you're a hardcore criminal, not soft criminal, okay, like pickpocketing and all, no problem. If you're a murderer or a rapist, then serious criminal. So in that case, then you will be disqualified under Representation of People's Act 1951. So if you're disqualified from contesting elections to state legislature or parliament, will you be eligible to contest elections to panchayats? That's my question. No, right. So you should have a age eligibility, 21, more than 21 years, plus you should not have been disqualified. If you have these two qualifications, Constitution allows you to contest elections to panchayats. Okay. We'll just have a look at the system of reservations, how it is done in panchayats. So this is so 73rd Amendment Act brought in a mandatory provision for providing reservation for women as well as for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Okay, these are mandatory as per 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. So why are reservations even important? Why are reservations brought in as a mandatory provision? It's because you take this as a village. In an urban area, urban areas are more inclusive spaces, right? My next door neighbor might be a scheduled tribe. This side, my neighbor might be a Brahmin. Back side of my home, it might be a scheduled caste person. So urban areas, everybody lives along with everybody, more inclusive. But in rural areas, in villages, our villages are not naturally inclusive spaces. They are naturally exclusive spaces. The way village societies have developed over a period of time, because of the concept of purity, pollution and all, it has become a reality that scheduled caste and scheduled tribe members, they will be living in one part of the village and the other section of the society will be living in the other part of the village. So where a temple will be located, only Brahmins and other forward caste people can live there. So this is how, because of history, our societies have become sorted out, right? So let's say government of India in 1980s, it launches a program called as ghettoization. Okay, all right. But ghetto is actually an urban phenomenon. Okay, ghetto means a slum. So slums, ghettos are only in urban areas. So in that's not ghettoization, because in ghettos you can have all classes of people, all castes of people can also live in ghettos. So that's different. You can probably call it as alienation or whatever it is. So in such a situation, let's imagine the government of India conducts a survey, and based on the survey it identifies that infant mortality rate in India is too high. Okay, so we have to tackle it. We have to give nutritional supplements. So why do you think, just common question, general question, why do you think infant mortality rate can be high? Why? Give me some reasons. Early marriage by itself need not be the reason. Okay. Yeah, anemia in women. Okay. Poor maternal health. Okay. Malnutrition. Basically, it can be because of malnutrition of the mother as well as the malnutrition of the child. Right? So to tackle this problem, Government of India comes up with a new scheme called as Integrated Child Development Scheme, ICDS. And what is the purpose of ICDS? The objective of ICDS is to establish one Anganwadi center in each village. Okay. So what is done in Anganwadi center? In Anganwadi center, nutritional supplements are given. This hot cooked meal is provided to children, to pregnant women, to lactating women. And as soon as a woman reaches pregnancy, her health is properly monitored throughout her pregnancy. Weight gain is assured by giving her nutritional supplements. All these kind of interventions are done through this Anganwadi center. So central government allocates like 30,000 crore, 40,000 crore for creating one Anganwadi center in each and every village. Okay, all that is good. Objective of ICDS is wonderful. But after 5 years, 6 years, even after that, nutritional status of women is not developing. Infant mortality rate is not coming down at all. So finally, then the government goes and sees where is the problem? What happened? We are spending so much money, but still no outcomes. Why? Because how these things work is the Anganwadi center in this village, what happens? So let's say a sum of 5 lakh rupees is allocated for one village. With 5 lakh, you can build an Anganwadi center. So what happens is this bureaucrat comes, he talks to these villagers. And when I say villagers, you have the 5 members, the panchayats, who have always been there. And who are these 5 members? The dominant classes, dominant caste group. That is how, without reservations, panchayats have been. So if you talk to them about, and give me an answer, in this village, which sections of the population do you think the infant mortality rate might be the highest? Is it not the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, the most vulnerable sections where they cannot even get food to eat properly? It is in this section only. Actually, IMR rate is actually higher. Not in this section, definitely not in this section, and it may not be in this section of the society. So basically, they are the ones who are in need of this nutritional support from the government. But when the bureaucrat comes and talks to this group, what they will say, you create an Anganwadi center just close to my home here. Okay. Tomorrow, if a piped water scheme comes, the bureaucrat will come and talk to this section. They will say, oh yeah, please create a hand pump here, 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 here. New road. What will they do? They will ensure that all their 5 houses are connected. This is what is called as class capture of government resources. Class capturing of communal assets. Whatever benefit comes from the government, it is all captured only by a dominant section of the society. Why? Reservations are not there. So let's say an Anganwadi center is created here. Do you think just because it is created here, a poor child or a poor scheduled caste mother from this part of the village, will he or she be able to go here and access the benefits? In an urban area, that is possible. Anybody can move here and there. But in a rural area, just because an Anganwadi center is created in a village, does it automatically mean that this person will start going near the temple and going and getting benefits? Same concept of purity pollution will prevent them. They themselves will not go. Even if they are asked to come and get supplements, they will not actually go all the way. Child will not be sent to the Anganwadi center. So these kind of practical problems is what actually, so government keeps on spending money, but the outcomes are nowhere being realized because the sections who are in need of government assistance are still being devoid of government interventions because of caste rigidities in the villages. So how do you break this? You break this by giving reservations. So what will happen if you give reservation? In 5 members, let's say 2 of them are scheduled castes. Okay. So the 3 general category. At least if this is the case, even if there is a fight between them, even if there is some kind of a conflict between them, if one of them can come along with this side, okay, 2 plus 1, if you have a majority here, 3 members together, now they can decide that the Anganwadi center will at least be set up here, somewhat near the border, so that this group of society can also access, they can also access. Some positive can actually come out of this, right, instead of the earlier system. This is the advantage of reservations. because you cannot expect all three of them to be united all the time. Somewhere some conflict will come, and if two of them can help him, maybe this person's house is here, so he would want the Anganwadi center to come here only, not here, right? So something, I'm just talking about village dynamics, politics, how it actually plays out is this. There is some kind of a hope, some kind of a chance if reservation is provided for the benefit to reach the intended beneficiaries. This is why reservations were made as a mandatory aspect of Panchayat Raj institution by 73rd Amendment Act. Okay, so we'll see what are the provisions in 73rd Amendment Act regarding reservations. You have Zilla Parishad, Mandal Panchayat, Gram Panchayat. You have members, you have chairpersons, right? Office of members, office of chairpersons. So tell me, in these three levels, in which level do we actually have reservations? Okay, in your village, Anganwadi center is at the border. Well, I don't understand. Okay, I don't know what you mean by border. Well, okay, fine. It could be at the border. It could be at the center of the village, wherever it could be. But is it used by all sections? Today, I think this problem and all is not there. Mostly, everybody sends, even in villages also. At least nobody will oppose a child if a small kid is being taken to Anganwadi center. Today, Indians have become better. Okay, I have not seen. I mean, very poor children who are like skeletons. Nobody is so inhuman these days to prevent such child from going and entering into Anganwadi center. But yeah, so in between upper and lower caste, used by all sections. So good, it's used by all sections. So tell me, my question is, in all these three levels, where do we find reservations? So please explain, who is the president, councillor, chairman? President, councillor, and chairman. Okay, I think you're talking about the terminology that is used in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu, president is the sarpanch, village president. He is the sarpanch basically. Councillors means, yeah. So these members of Gram Panchayat, they are called as ward members. And at these two levels, they can be called as councillors, they can be called as Zilla Parishad member, they can be called as Panchayat Samiti member, or they can be called as councillor also. Okay, councillor is a very general term. Anybody who is a part of any council is called as a councillor. Okay, so if he is a part of urban bodies, he is called as a councillor. If he is a part of any of these bodies also, you can call them as councillor. But the correct terminology is, for Gram Panchayats, they are called as ward members. For these two bodies, they are called as ZP member, Panchayat Samiti member. That's the correct way to call them. But you can also call them as councillors. In Tamil Nadu, they call it by a different designation, I think. They call it as village Panchayat. Then you have union Panchayat. At the district level, you have a district Panchayat, something like that. So, yeah. So the president of the village, sarpanch of the village in Tamil Nadu, he's not called as sarpanch. He's called as a president. Okay, to answer to your doubt. And at these two levels, the chairperson is called as a chairperson. Councillor means any member of any of these three bodies are called as councillors. So don't be confused about all these things. Terminologies will change from state to state. Okay. Terms like class capture, principle of subsidiarity are very catchy and beautiful. Where did you get this? Well, you have to read from outside. Okay, these are all terms which I prepared when I was preparing. I think that still remains intact. The principle of subsidiarity and all these things, so that when you write in the mains, when you insert it now and then, it feels like a very professional answer. So that is what is very strategic preparation for mains. Okay. You will not get these in the textbooks, but it's very easily available in any documents. You have to just spend some time and going through documents which are available on the internet, which can help you understand all these kind of aspects which is being taught. So, yeah, tell me about the system of reservations. Where do you find reservations existing in these three levels? Any answer? Okay, all three levels in terms of members, population of SC/ST is about 20%, like then reservation is given. No, 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 no. No such thing. Reservation is mandatory, and yeah, at Gram Panchayat level, district, not at intermediate level. No, no, no. All three levels reservations have to be provided. Okay. But on what basis? On what principle? So should I reserve 50% of the total seats in each levels for SCs and STs, or is there some criteria? Is there some principle based on which the reservation is being provided? What do you think? Okay, based on population. You mean the population at the state level? Do you mean maybe in Tamil Nadu the population of scheduled caste may be 18%? So does it mean that in all three levels, in all different Gram Panchayats, 18% of reservation should be given for scheduled caste? Population of SCs and STs at what level? What population you're talking about? Yes, very good. Population in that particular block. Okay. So let's say you have a district. In this district, percentage of SC population, let's say out of this total population of 10 lakhs, district population, 3 lakh, 30% is SC population. So it means that in Zilla Parishad level, 30% of the seats must be reserved for scheduled castes. Okay. At one block level, the block may have a population of 50,000, out of which the SC population, let's say it is 5,000. That is 10% alone. So for this block Panchayat Samiti, you have to give a 10% SC reservation. And one particular village in that particular block, let's say the Gram Panchayat might have a total population of around 10,000 people, out of which 5,000 people are scheduled castes. So in this Gram Panchayat, 50% seats must be reserved for scheduled caste. So the constitutional principle is there shall be reservation for SCs and STs at all three levels for the post of members of all three levels. And the percentage of seats reserved for SCs will bear the same ratio as that of their population in that particular panchayat area. This is also a panchayat. This is called as a district panchayat, a block panchayat, then a gram panchayat. So in each and in that particular, let's say in this panchayat area, in this district panchayat area, the percentage share of SCs to the total population, the same equivalent percentage of the total seats in Zilla Parishad level will be reserved for the scheduled castes. Do you get it? Is it clear? So it is based on the population of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in that particular panchayat area. That is how the constitution uses. This is the term used in the constitution. All right. Are you clear? Because the next difference I'll tell you, when it comes to the post of chairpersons, do we have any reservation for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe? Is there any reservation for SC, ST when it comes to the post of chairpersons? Is there or is there not? Okay. I'll explain once again. See, Zilla Parishad, this is for district. Let's say this is Coimbatore district. Let's say Coimbatore district has a total population of 20 lakhs, out of which scheduled caste population, let's say it is 5 lakhs. So you tell me, Maheshwar, so what is the percentage of SC population to the total population? What percentage of total population is the SC population in Coimbatore district? You're still calculating. Oh my God. Okay. 25%. Okay. Okay. So in Zilla Parishad, let's assume there are 50 seats. Or let's assume there are 40 seats, not 50. 40 seats. So how many seats will be reserved out of 40 seats for scheduled castes here? 25% of 40 seats. That is 10 seats will be reserved for scheduled caste. Similarly, you take one block here. This is one block. The block might have a population of 1 lakh, but the scheduled caste population is 10,000. How much percentage is it? Scheduled caste population percentage, 10% of the total population. So for block, you have a body which is called as Panchayat Samiti, or a block Panchayat, or a Mandal Panchayat, or Union Panchayat, whatever name you can call that. It has a total of 20 seats. So how many seats will be reserved for SC? It is 10%. That is 2 seats shall be reserved. Same will apply to the village level also. This is the concept. So this is what is given in the constitution when it comes to reservations. Seats shall be reserved for SCs and STs in every panchayat, and the number of seats so reserved shall bear as nearly as may be the same proportion to the total number of seats to be filled by direct election in that panchayat as the population of SCs in that panchayat area or of the SCs in the panchayat area bears to the total population of that area. That is the meaning of panchayat area. It might be a district panchayat, it might be a block panchayat, or it might be a gram panchayat. Whatever is the share of SC population of that panchayat area to the total population in that panchayat area, the same percentage shall be the number of seats reserved for SCs and STs in the respective bodies. So this is what is given in the constitution. That is what I have explained. Okay. Now the question is with respect to chairpersons. Tell me how are reservations provided for the office of chairpersons? Is there any reservation for chairpersons? Do we have to reserve seats for chairpersons at 3 levels, or is it not necessary? It is necessary, correct. No. See, it is bound to provide reservations. Just because it is, you have to read the constitution in complete. Okay, you cannot read only this much. If you read only this much, then you will think if the state legislature provides, then there will be reservation. No, you have to read this also. Provided that number of office of chairperson reserved shall bear. That is, constitution gives a minimum stipulation. The minimum criteria is fixed. So it means that chairperson's offices must also be reserved for SCs and STs. Okay. So how? Here, this reservation for chairpersons is done based on percentage of SC population in the state to total population. So let's say the total population of the state is 6 crore, out of which let's say 2 crore is the scheduled caste population. That is 33% is the scheduled caste person population. If that is the case, throughout the state, throughout that particular state, at 3 levels, 33% reservation must be given to SCs and SCs in the office of chairperson at all 3 levels. So this is the difference. Here it is the population of the state which will be taken together. Out of that, what is their percentage of population? Based on that ratio, total number of seats will be reserved. Okay, it need not, even though that particular village might have a very high number of SC population, it might so happen that the chairperson's post might not be reserved in that particular village, because it should be 33% of the total posts. It could be anything. Okay, so that will be decided by the State Election Commission. So these are the system of reservations for SCs and STs as given in the constitution. Now we'll move on to women. Okay, I'll ask you another question with respect to this reservation for SC and ST. My question is it a permanent provision of the constitution, reservation for SC and ST in panchayats in all 3 different levels? Is it a permanent provision, or is it having a time limit? after which, because do you know that there is a time limit for reservations for SCs and STs in state legislature and in Lok Sabha? Are you aware? Do you know that there is a maximum time limit after which SCs and STs will not have reservation in Lok Sabha and in state legislatures? Yes. So what is that maximum period? What is the maximum period? Up to what time do you think SCs and STs will enjoy reservation in Lok Sabha and state legislatures? 70 years. The 70 years has now been changed. It is now 80 years. That is how the constitution reads. Yes. So you have to read the constitution. I think probably Article 330 to 334. Something somewhere in between. 334 maybe, I think. I'm not very sure. One out of those 3-4 articles, 330 to 333 or 334. You read that, you will have that answer. It has been 334, right? 334. Article 334 says that reservations for SCs and STs in parliament, state legislatures will continue up to 80 years from the commencement of the constitution. What do you mean by 80 years from the commencement of the constitution? It was 2030, after which reservations will not be there. So maybe it will be once again extended. So, but my question is, for panchayats, do we have such time limit, or is it a permanent feature of the constitution? Do we have such time limits for reservations for SCs, STs in panchayats also, or is it a permanent part of the constitution? What is your answer? Not permanent. Permanent. Yes. Anybody else? What is your answers? Permanent. Okay. Read clause 5. What does it say? Yes. Until reservation is provided in Article 334. Till then, they will also enjoy reservations in panchayat. So it means that this is not a never-ending permanent feature of the constitution. No. There is a maximum time limit. The time limit as given in Article 334. Okay. Okay. But what about women? Women reservation is a permanent feature. Women reservation, there is no time limit or anything. We have a reservation for women also in panchayats. What does the constitution say? The constitution says that at all levels, Zilla Parishad, Mandal Panchayat, Gram Panchayat, at all levels, minimum 1/3 of the seats, not less than 1/3 of the seats, shall be reserved for women. Okay, at all 3 levels, and even at the level of chairpersons also. Chairpersons, it's the same logic. Throughout the state, how many posts of chairpersons are there? Out of the total posts, 1/3 of the posts of chairperson must be reserved for women. So it might so happen that in your village or in your particular district, this time you may not have any reserved seats for women in chairperson posts. Maybe next year, all seats in your district might come under the reserved category. So it has to keep rotating, right? So remember, when it comes to members, let's say out of 60 members in Zilla Parishad, 20 members minimum, it should be given for women. So at all 3 levels, this is permanent. But when it comes to chairpersons, of all the positions of chairperson in the total state, a minimum of 1/3, not less than 1/3, has to be reserved. So this will keep on alternating. Okay, keep on alternating. So that is the constitutional scheme. Okay, this is all about reservations. So we'll just take a quick break for 5 minutes, and we'll continue after that. So does it mean in Gram Panchayat for chairperson seat, women should be given 1/3 reservation? Or else in total number of chairpersons of all levels, it is 1/3. Chairpersons. See how it works is, you take Gram Panchayat, there is a post of Sarpanch as the chairperson. So let's say in that entire state, there are 1,000 Sarpanches totally. Minimum 1/3 of the seats in Sarpanch levels should be reserved for women. Okay, that is the logic. Out of total of 1,000 seats, maybe 333 seats must be reserved for women. Any 333 seats. So for this 5 years, if it is a certain group of seats, next 5 years, next elections, it will be a different 333 seats which will be reserved. So it will keep on alternating. That is the logic for chairperson's post. For members, it is fixed. In the Gram Panchayat, 1/3 of the seats will be reserved for women. Okay. Do you have any doubts here? Do you have any issues in reservations? Are you clear or are you confused? What is the status? Is it so difficult? Sir, SC reservation of chairperson office, can you explain again? This is what I just did now. Okay, so it's not tough. Maybe you should just read your Lakshmikant once. All right. So we'll move forward. Another problem, erstwhile, before 73rd Amendment Act, is with respect to conducting elections. Elections are mostly rigged elections. The ruling party in power will only win all the seats. Everything because so that is the reason why an independent body was to be created. Until then, the elections, we did not have an independent body called a State Election Commission until 1992 73rd Amendment Act. Elections will be held by the state government itself. Collector, block development officer, they themselves will conduct elections and they will declare the winners. Very, very high possibility of manipulations happening, rigging happening, booth capturing also will happen. Every misuse of election machinery will happen, right? That is how things were before 73rd Amendment Act. To rectify this, 73rd Amendment Act established a body called as State Election Commission. The State Election Commission will be headed by a State Election Commissioner. State Election Commissioner will be appointed by the governor, so no problem. But his tenure is is secured. How? He will be removed only by the president. He will not be removed by the governor, by the state government or anything. He will be removed only by the president, and that too after a removal motion is passed against him in the parliament, on the same lines as that of a judge of a high court. The superintendents. Okay, another aspect I'll have to mention here is, for panchayat elections, you have a separate electoral roll. It is not the same electoral roll that you use for other elections. Panchayat elections, a separate electoral roll will be prepared by State Election Commission itself. Election Commission of India will prepare its own electoral roll for elections to state legislature and for Lok Sabha. Similarly, State Election Commission will also appoint its staff. They'll go door to door and they'll prepare their own electoral rolls. Okay. State Election Commissioner to be appointed by governor. Conditions of service and tenure of office shall be such as the governor may by rule determine. Okay. Conditions of service. What should be his pay scale? What should be his allowances? So that is what is called as conditions of service and tenure of office of the State Election Commissioner shall be such as the governor may by rule determine. Okay. Provided that he shall not be removed except on the same manner as that of a judge of a high court. And the service and the conditions of service of the State Election Commissioner shall not be varied to his disadvantage after his appointment. Okay. So these are similar to the protection that is offered to the judges of Supreme Court and High Court. That is, once they become a judge of a Supreme Court or High Court, then you cannot reduce his salary or allowances or anything. Nothing can be reduced. You can only increase it. I think we have all seen all these kind of similar clauses when we discussed about judiciary also, right? So the governor, when requested by the State Election Commission, may make staff necessary. That's okay. That's fine. It's very simple. That is, whenever the State Election Commission requires, BDOs, Block Development Officer, Village Administrative Officer, all of them shall be made available for him to conduct the elections and to carry out his duties. Otherwise, because State Election Commission doesn't have a full-time manpower for itself, whenever election comes, they will have to require from the governor of that particular state. So that protection, that bureaucratic machinery is made available because of this provision in the Constitution. Nothing complicated or anything. Okay. So do you know this particular issue? Tenure of the office, conditions of the service shall be such as the governor may by rule determine. Do you know this issue came into limelight last year? Anybody? Last year, what happened was in Andhra Pradesh, the state election commissioner, he was appointed by Chandrababu Naidu. Okay, when Chandrababu Naidu was there, this IAS officer was appointed as a state election commissioner. So he is a favorite. He's a loyalist of Chandrababu Naidu. So Jagan Mohan Reddy now becomes a chief minister, and even after becoming chief minister, state election commissioner does not want to hold elections, to panchayats. So Jagan Mohan Reddy tried to do everything possible. He moved the court. Nothing was working. So finally what he did, using this clause, the conditions of service and tenure of office shall be such as the governor may by rule determine, right? So he used this and he reduced the tenure of the state election commissioner. Tenure was reduced so as to make sure his tenure is already over. If the earlier tenure was 4 years, it was reduced to 2 years, so that this person can now be removed from his post. Okay, so this kind of a change was done by the governor. When I say it's a governor, it's basically the government, the elected state government, right? Based on the advice that is given by the elected state government, the governor will make this rule. So the change was made, and the election commissioner was actually removed from his post. Otherwise, his tenure will continue for another 2 more years. Another 2 more years, it will become a problem for Jagan Mohan Reddy. So this was actually used. Okay. So immediately there was a lot of protest. How can you reduce the tenure, but shall not be removed except, okay, conditions of service, yes. So the question that was actually put before the court was, how can the tenure be reduced? That is like causing disadvantage to me. Okay, the counter argument is tenure will not come under conditions of service. The Constitution only says conditions of service of state election commissioner shall not be varied to his disadvantage. Tenure is different, conditions of service is different. Pension, your salary, allowance, that is what is called as conditions of service. This was the counter view put forward. So you should just know about this, okay? Removing the state election commissioner, yes, somebody is asking the same question. How can that be done to the disadvantage of existing SEC? Because that is his answer. Tenure is different from conditions of service. That was the counter argument. So that and all will not be asked for you in the exam. You should just know the constitutional provisions. Removal process is a tough process. State Election Commission will prepare its own electoral roll. You have to know about that. Okay. All right. Disqualifications. Duration of panchayats. What shall be the duration of panchayats? Every panchayat, unless sooner dissolved under any law, shall continue for 5 years from the date appointed from its first meeting and no longer. Duration is 5 years. It's given. Of causing dissolution, you don't have to worry about this. This is for, you just forget about this second clause. Okay. This is for the panchayats that were already existing when this Constitutional Amendment Act came into force. So forget about clause 2. An election to consider panchayat shall be completed before the expiry of its duration. Okay, that is specified in clause 1, before the expiration of period of 6 months from the date of its dissolution. So before 6 months, before the duration of its automatic dissolution happens, before that itself, we will have to conduct elections, and new fresh elections have to be conducted. Okay. Provided where the remainder of the period for which dissolved panchayat would have continued is less than 6 months. it shall not be necessary to hold any election. What does it mean? It means that panchayats can even be dissolved before their tenure is over. Constitution says the panchayats, let's say a gram panchayat, if it is constituted, it has a tenure of 5 years. The constitution also says before its expiry happens, at least before 6 months, you should hold fresh elections. Okay. What else does it say? Provided where the remainder of the period for which the dissolved panchayat would have continued is less than 6 months, it shall not be a panchayat upon dissolution. Yes. Another aspect that you'll have to know is panchayats can be dissolved in between. Okay, just like your state legislature can be dissolved, like how Lok Sabha can be dissolved, even panchayats can also be dissolved. So the constitution does not provide any grounds for dissolution of panchayats. It will all be provided in the respective state laws. Odisha Panchayat Act that used to have a provision, that has a provision for dissolution of panchayats. If majority of the gram panchayat members, majority of them, if they give a letter in writing that they do not believe in this sarpanch, he is not quitting also, so we have to dissolve the panchayats because of grounds of corruption charge against the sarpanch. If any such reasons, majority of the members, if they write and give a letter to the collector will forward it to the Panchayat Raj department of that particular state. The state will then dissolve that particular panchayat. Okay, so you have to know panchayats can be dissolved. That will all be in the respective state legislations of that particular state. Okay, so let's say a panchayat is dissolved here. Okay, and within 6 months, a panchayat elections have to be completed. So let's say a new panchayat is constituted here. Already 2.5 years is already over. A new panchayat, a gram panchayat is constituted. Will it continue for 5 years? Will it continue for 5 more years? No, because the constitution says it will only continue for the remainder of the term. That is, only for 2.5 years this panchayat will continue. After that, this tenure of this panchayat is over. Okay, you should know this also. This is about duration of panchayats. The next aspect about panchayats you'll have to know is with respect to funds and functions. What if I ask you a question? 73rd Amendment Act of 1992 amended 7th schedule of the Constitution. Will it be a correct statement? 73rd Act of 1992 had amended the 7th schedule of the Constitution. Certain functions of state list were taken out and given in the hands of panchayats. Will it be correct? Will it be a correct statement? No. Okay. No is the right answer. 73rd Amendment did not have any impact on the 7th schedule or anything. Instead of that, 73rd Amendment Act created a new schedule called as 11th schedule. 11th schedule was created and added to the Constitution, which mentions about the different functions of the panchayats. So can you just imagine what all can be the functions of the panchayats? Just with common sense, okay, let me ask you a question like this. What if there's a question in the exam and they give you 4 options? 3, 4. 4 different functions are given. They're asking you to find which of these functions are functions of 11th schedule of the Constitution. Okay, and one of the function is fire safety. Will it be a function of 11th schedule? Because you cannot memorize. Don't memorize anything for this exam. You have to get re-exposed to again and find out some pattern or logic. That is the way you can remember polity. The reason is polity is a different kind of subject. If you take history, okay, you read an entire chapter of Bipin Chandra, After reading the entire Battle of Plassey, the events which have happened, everything, you will come exam worthy points in the entire chapter might be 4 point or 5 points, right? Diwani rights was got by the company as a result of Battle of Plassey. So that might be a point. Apart from that, the war that happened, Sirajuddaula, the fortifications at Chandranagore, all that is not necessary for the examination. But in polity, that is not the case. Polity, each and every line in the constitution is an exam worthy point. So you cannot memorize, or you cannot mug up this 11th schedule, 7th schedule. That is not going to work. Maybe by facing different questions over a period of time, you will get trained so as to come back to the books and have a look at the constitutional provisions again and again. Maybe that way you might be able to remember things. So my question is, can fire safety be one of the functions of 11th schedule? That is my question. So if you're saying yes, you have to give me reason. If you say no, you have to give me reason. Yes. Vinisha's answer is right. Maybe because she lives in a village, she knows panchayats, whether they do such functions or not. For others who had said yes, why? See, fire safety, do you think it is a matter of concern in panchayat areas? Village area, it is population are all very spread out. A fire in one household will not be a problem to other households, which is not the case in an urban area. Urban area, high-rise buildings, when town planning happens, the plan must have a wide enough road for a fire truck to come in and go out, right? So fire planning has to be an essential part of urban planning, not rural planning. So fire services, you will find it in 12th schedule and not in 11th schedule. So let me ask you another question. Here there is a different function. Regulation of slaughterhouses. What about this function? Can it be a part of 11th schedule? 11th schedule talks about the different functions which will be performed by the panchayats. The regulation of slaughterhouses. Can this be a function of panchayats? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Think and tell me. Animal husbandry is different. Animal husbandry is improving the quality of the livestock. That is animal husbandry. Slaughterhouses is to kill animals for consumption. No, only in urban areas it is predominant, correct. Urban areas, it is a problem. Sanitation is a problem. You throw the dead carcass of the animals here and there in the urban area without proper disposal is not taken care of, it will just wipe out the entire urban area because of cholera or some other issues. Because the population is also typhoid, maybe population is so dense. That's why regulation of slaughterhouse is a function of urban local bodies. You go to shops here, mutton shop, chicken shop, you will find a municipal certification that we are complying with all the disposal norms of the municipality, correct? You will find that. But in rural areas, you don't have to get any license or permission to cut mutton or chicken. Anybody can do anything because the area is spread out. You throw it on the roads also, because of the heat, it will just decompose. It will not become a urgent public health concern or anything. So that is why this kind of a function you will find as a function of 12th schedule and not 11th schedule. But if the question was to be if this is a function, will it be a function of 11th schedule? Yes, right. In rural areas, you will have small markets, this village huts, weekly market, Sunday market. In village areas and all, you will not have markets, grocery stores. Maybe nowadays it has developed. In Tamil Nadu and all, we will have good grocery stores and everything. You go to states like Odisha and all, you will not have a throughout the week functioning grocery stores. People will suddenly come on a Friday or on a Sunday or a Monday with whatever they produce, they will come. Okay. And they will sell maybe pots, baskets, nets, such kind of things they'll bring and they will sell it. And they cannot come and sell it sitting on the roads, right? For that, the panchayat has created certain marketplaces. Just a cement yard, a cement platform will be there. You can come, bring in your products, you can sit there, and there will be a roof over your head, so that even if it rains, your produce does not get affected. Since you are using the panchayat facilities, you have to pay some money to that panchayat, 10 rupees per day, 20 rupees as a user charges. So maintenance of markets is also a function of panchayats. Similarly, when you look at the other functions, you will come across functions, and of course, the most important of all functions is the municipal functions, taking care of garbage disposal, or you can say door-to-door garbage collection, or municipal functions are like street lighting functions, a very essential function. Even if it is a rural area or a village or urban area, yes, street lighting is necessary so as to travel in the dark, in the night times. And water connections, that is also those will come under municipal functions. Okay. And that is why Swachh Bharat mission, which talks about sanitation, which focuses on sanitation, is actually implemented by the panchayats. So municipal functions, you will find it in the list, 11th schedule: markets, fairs, animal husbandry, and grazing grounds, pasture grounds, maintaining that, promoting small industries, small scale industries, khadi industries. So you will have a list, maybe you can go through it, and public distribution system, PDS, maintaining PDS shops, running PDS shops, that is also a function of panchayats. Go through it, just get yourself exposed to what are the different functions that are performed. So the advantage of 73rd constitutional amendment is it created an exclusive list of functions which will only be performed by panchayats. It cannot be taken over by state government or union government. So this is an independent existence in terms of exclusive set of functions, a functional independence for panchayats. Before that, the panchayats were to be dependent on state governments. Some state governments will give PDS in the hands of panchayats. Some they will run on their own. Okay, and one of the function in 11th schedule today, you will find primary health care, primary education. That is also a function of 11th schedule. Okay, so in some other states earlier, before 73rd Amendment Act, what I'm trying to say is there is no assurance that functional autonomy or functional independence would be made available to the panchayats until this amendment was passed. So this was taken care by creating a separate list of functions under the 11th schedules. Okay. Now what about funds? Okay, you give them all these kind of functions, but to carry out these functions, to establish street lights, to establish public libraries, to carry out door-to-door garbage collection, to provide drinking water facilities, right? You need money for that purpose. The problem before 73rd Amendment Act was panchayats were at the mercy of state governments. If the state governments decide, they will give money, otherwise they will not even give money. So then without money, what will these panchayats do? Nothing. The sarpanch will not be respected by any of the villagers. There is no use of being appointed as a sarpanch if there is no money to be spent, right? So the state governments, they will give money only to their own favored panchayats. So all these kind of problems used to be there. That is why 73rd Amendment brought in some mechanism which provides a assured source of funds. I'll ask you a question here. Can the panchayats, what if there's a statement? The constitution mandates taxation powers in the hands of panchayats. Will that statement be a correct statement or is it a wrong statement? The constitution mandates the power of taxation in the hands of panchayats. Will it be right or is it a wrong statement? Right. Wrong. Panchayats do not have any taxation powers as given in the constitution. No. All that the constitution has ensured is assured source of money from Central Finance Commission and State Finance Commission. State Finance Commission is set up by 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. Just like State Election Commission, State Finance Commission is also a body that is set up by 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. So whatever money is collected by the state government because of its revenue powers, because of its taxation powers, I've told you in list 2, different taxation powers are given. The power of stamp charges on land registration, excise on liquor, all these kind of powers are used by the state governments to earn money, right? Whatever money is earned, this body called a State Finance Commission will recommend how much percentage of that money should be transferred to local self-government bodies, that is to Panchayat, PRIs and ULBs. That is the work of State Finance Commission. Similarly, Central Finance Commission, Article 280. Did I tell you we discussed about 2 functions of Central Finance Commission, right? Article 280. One of the function is corresponding to Article 270. The other function is corresponding to Article 275. I said there are 2 more functions that have to be discussed. That is, what are those 2 functions? Every year when the Finance Commission makes its recommendations, it should also recommend to the President about how much money should be given to each and every panchayats. Okay, that is also a mandate of Central Finance Commission. So if you go through the 15th Finance Commission recommendations, you will find what is the grant that has to be given to local to panchayats and urban local bodies, how much money should be given. You will find that mentioned in the 15th Finance Commission recommendation. Okay, you just have to go through it. So when you read Article 280, you will come across these 2 functions also. See here, measures needed to augment, that is to support the consolidated fund of the state, to supplement the resources of panchayats in the state on the basis of recommendations made by the Finance Commission. Basically, CFC will give money. That is what is given here. How much money should be given from the central revenues, how much should be given to the states, so that the states can transfer it to the panchayats. Same for case of municipalities. So both these provisions, they were introduced by 73rd Amendment Act 92. The other one with municipalities is added because of 74th Amendment Act 1992. Okay. So this also becomes one of the function of CFC recommends devolution directly to local governments. Well, see, it doesn't mean that CFC recommends devolution directly to local governments means it will not go from central government's bank account to a gram panchayat in a remote tribal district of Odisha. No, the database and all is not available to the central government. Money will be given to the state governments and the states will transfer it to the bank accounts of the panchayats. Okay, so it is not like directly it will go from central government to the bank account of a gram panchayat. That is not how it goes. But the money is given to the state governments to be transferred to the panchayats. Each panchayat, Finance Commission recommends each and every gram panchayat must get a fund of 10 lakh rupees this for the next 5 years. Every year they should be getting 10 lakh rupees. So that will be given to the states and states will transfer it to the panchayats. Okay. So this is how an assured source of funding has been ensured for the panchayats. As a part of vertical devolution to the states or separately for local governments? It is separate. It is separate for local governments. So there is an issue, there is a problem with this kind of a transfer. CFC transfers to panchayats, State Finance Commission transfers to panchayats. Okay, these are 2 different sources of how the panchayats can receive money every year. In addition to that, are there any other sources of income for the panchayats? Do you think so? Any other sources of income for panchayats? right? They can levy fees and user charges. So, as I just told you now, markets, when people come and use the market complex created by the panchayats, they have to give 10 rupees, 20 rupees, that will be collected as user charges. Similarly, the state governments can empower the panchayats. How will they empower the panchayats? State government will allocate 500 crores. Sorry, not 500 crores, 50 lakhs. No, 50 lakhs is also too much. 5 lakh rupees will be allocated to a panchayat for a drinking water project. Okay. So there might be 50 households for which a drinking water connection, piped water connection will be set up. Maybe with 20-25 lakhs, you can set up a drinking water project for 50 families. And the state governments will hand over the control of this drinking water project in the hand of the panchayat. Okay, even though the state government has only created this project, but once it is created, the maintenance, control, repair works, everything will be taken care by the panchayat, for which the panchayats will levy user charges. Every month, each family should give 100 rupees, 200 rupees as user charges, right? So, panchayats can collect user charges if they have been empowered by the state governments, right? So that is also a source of revenue for these panchayat raj institutions. But what is the problem here? And and as I told you, primary healthcare, primary education is also a function of panchayats. So state governments will create primary healthcare centers, and there will be user fees for that also, a very nominal amount, 10 rupees, for 5 rupees. A patient comes and visits the government doctor, maybe 5 rupees or 10 rupees will be paid. For a blood test, 20 rupees, x-ray, 30 rupees. Very nominal amounts will be collected by the government, will be collected as user fees. So whatever money is collected can be empowered by the state governments to be collected by the panchayats. In states like Karnataka, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Kerala, in western part of India, the panchayats are working very well. Okay. Added to that, Tamil Nadu also is better, Andhra is also better. Apart from these states, you start from Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra. These all states are very good with local government systems. But every other state, especially on the eastern part of India, if you had to say, very pathetic. Panchayats are so weak, and there are historical reasons also for that. Historical reasons are there. Apart from that, the skill set of the panchayat members, that is also another reason why panchayats are so weak in these eastern states. There are many reasons. We'll discuss about them as the challenges faced by the panchayat raj institutions. But right now, my point is, so these are different sources of revenue, but what is the problem that you find here? One of the problem is, not many states have even empowered the panchayats to collect user charges. In fact, in states like Odisha, panchayats do not have the custody of the money that a patient pays in primary healthcare center or a secondary healthcare center. Money is directly taken by the state government. State government will spend for its own purposes, not given to the panchayats. Okay. So that is not the case in Karnataka. In Karnataka, the panchayats will have control over the user charges that is being paid in hospitals or in schools. Okay, so it's a very different kind of a setup. So it depends upon the states. So the important problem here is, first of all, not many states have empowered the panchayats to collect user charges. Even if they have empowered the states, panchayats to collect user charges, even then there is a problem. What is that problem? Can you tell me? Corruption, interfering in spending matters. No, more than that, there is another problem. What is that? Restrictions on amount to be collected. No. These are all not the problems. The problem is, really, are panchayats in a position to collect the money? It's easy to say that you go and collect user charges. Collect water charges from each and every family, 100 rupees per month, collect. But do you think the panchayats will actually, panchayat chairperson, sarpanch will go to each house and he will collect? Maybe in progressive states, people themselves realize that we have to give money, otherwise there will not be money left for maintaining these motor pump, maintaining the tank. We have to, of course, spend money. Otherwise, even this project will become defunct. People in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, they will be able to realize that. But in states like Odisha and all, nobody wants to pay any money. Okay. So panchayats, even if you go to collect money, they will chase you out. I cannot give you money. You do whatever you want to do. If each and every person starts behaving like that, can the sarpanch go and beat them? Can he disrupt water connection to this particular family and all? In a municipal area, you have proper plumbers and everybody. There will be valves and such kind of control devices where if one household is not paying water tax, you can disconnect the water connection. But in panchayats and all, do you think that can happen? One common pipe will be there for 50 families. Do you think you can actually disrupt water supply for one family alone which is not paying? No such, practically it is not possible. And moreover, politics, the sarpanch, if he goes and strictly enforces tax collection, user charge collection, who are the members of panchayats inside a panchayat village? They are all relatives, right? Villages, you have more of kith and kin relationship as members of that village. So you cannot go and tell your poor nephew who is already poor, so poor, you cannot go and ask him strictly pay me water charges, otherwise I'll disconnect water supply to you. Then the family bond will also get affected. So that is why all these kind of issues prevent panchayats from properly collecting their own sources of revenue. This is what is called as own sources of revenue. Okay, so because of these problems, the panchayats are not able to realize their own sources of revenue properly. But in a municipality, do you think this problem will be there? No. If a corporation tax collector comes to my house and he says, you have to pay 30,000 rupees as corporation tax, as housing tax, I will pay it to him. Otherwise my water connection will be stopped, garbage disposal will be stopped. So that is why there is a fear in urban areas and people are more complying in nature when money is demanded by the authorities. But in rural areas, this is a problem unique to panchayats. In urban bodies, we don't find this problem of revenues. In panchayats, this is a chronic problem of very low realization of own sources of revenue. Panchayats keep on depending upon additional support from CFC and SFC. So this by itself is not a problem. Anyway, they are getting money from CFC and SFC, right? But there is some larger problem hidden here. What is that? Anybody, can you think about that? Let's say a panchayat, gram panchayat, for one financial year requires 30 lakh rupees, out of which own source of revenue is only 1 lakh rupees. And maybe 20 lakhs altogether might have been got from CFC and SFC. Own source of revenue is 1 lakh, support from other sources is 20 lakhs. What is the problem here? What is the problem with panchayats being dependent on support from CFC and SFC? What is the actual problem? Very correct answer. Without financial autonomy, they are at the mercy of top-down planning. Exactly. Panchayats have some 20-25 different functions to be performed. If you go through the 11th schedule, you'll have so many functions. If own source of revenue would have been 29 lakhs instead of this amount, if they would have collected so much of revenue by themselves, they can spend for any of the purpose. They can create a new library, they can create a road, they can create a new temple also. Okay, they can create a new grazing ground, anything and everything can be, because it's their own source of revenue. Their own source, they can spend for any of the purposes in that 11th schedule. But when money comes from CFC and SFC, it comes with conditions. It comes with conditions that you, CFC, you will have to spend only on street lights. You will have to spend only on sewage treatment plant. This is how conditions are imposed when money comes from CFC and SFC. Because the central government is worried. If you give 20 lakhs to panchayats, central government clearly knows how it will be misappropriated. Definitely, the panchayats will be very happy. They will start laying concrete roads from this house to this house, concrete road. Because concrete road is where you can actually swindle money a lot. 60% of the project cost can be taken commission by the panchayat. But when you buy street lights, and CFC will even give conditions also, from what brand you should buy street light, from which supplier you should buy street lights, all that will come as a tied condition when the grant is released to the panchayats. So if that is the case, and moreover, for that financial year, panchayats already street lights may be properly set up. Panchayat might not even require street lights. Maybe last year only the panchayats would have installed lot of street lights with its own source of revenue. It has spent last year's own source of revenue for installing street lights. This year, once again, money is being given with the condition that you install street lights. Street light is not a priority for the panchayats anymore. Maybe building a public library is of a priority, but this money cannot be used for other purposes. This is the problem of tied grants, tied funds, conditional funds. Comes with a lot of conditions, right? So this is one practical problem that is faced by the panchayats. Because of low realization of own source of revenue, being in a position where they are dependent upon support from CFC and SFC, they actually do not have the autonomy which they actually require. The purpose of 73rd Amendment is to solve this problem of top-down planning. But once again, because this is not being effectively realized, once again this process becomes a top-down approach. Okay, so this is the problem associated with funding in panchayats. Okay, what are the other issues in panchayats? Anybody? Can you tell me some other issues in panchayats? Other issues and challenges faced in Panchayat Raj institutions. Then what is the purpose of giving functional autonomy? See, functional autonomy has been given, and it was expected that once these kind of projects are created in the panchayats themselves will start realizing their own sources of revenue. But because of, as I told you, because of social issues, social problems, social factors, the panchayats are not really forthcoming in realizing their own sources of revenue. Okay. But when CFC and SFC money is given by central government, the central government has to be concerned because it knows how. And moreover, when panchayats are realizing their own sources of revenue, they'll be more responsible with that. Because people are paying money, people are also more concerned about the money being spent. Panchayat members will not swindle own sources of revenue. They will implement it properly. But when money is coming from CFC or SFC, the people of that village themselves are least bothered about that money. Okay, somebody is paying tax and somebody's tax is coming to the village. Let him have his fun. Let him take money out of that. No problem. Let him live. This is the kind of mindset that people have. Okay. So these are some practical issues. It was expected that panchayats will be able to overcome their kith and kin issues and all, and they'll be able to mobilize their own source of revenue. But some states, they are doing it properly. As I told you, it's up to the people of that village. If people are all united, if they know that, yes, we have to give money, otherwise the project will fail, then people will be happy to give money. But in a state like Odisha, tribal people, for them, throughout their life, they have never even seen a toilet or a piped water connection. Suddenly, some piped water connection scheme is being given. Even if it goes defunct, also they have been used to a different way of life. They know how to manage themselves, so they don't really care about that. But here, since people have got used to a piped water connection, they know the value of it, and people would be ready to pay money to ensure uninterrupted service. So it depends upon the mindset of the people also. Okay, my question is about what other problems and challenges do the panchayats face? Is the fund get released to panchayats per year or for 5 years from the state? No, every year, annually, CFC grants will be released to the panchayats. Yeah, reservations, proxy representative for their husbands, the upper caste and class, yes, that's the same problem. Yes, that's a very valid point. Even though we have reservations, are reservations really benefiting the depressed classes? Or are they just proxies for dominant classes? Sarpanch Pati, right? The phenomenon which Prime Minister had pointed out, Sarpanch Pati. So such kind of issues are really there, of course. What other issues? Delay in grants, not really. It's released in one tranche. Okay, we don't find the delay in grants as a big problem in panchayats. But there are other problems in panchayats, other more pressing problems. What are they? As I told you, no timely elections. Almost that problem has also got rectified. Maybe for unavoidable extraordinary circumstances, because new districts might be formed, new demarcation has to be done. Because of such kind of practical administrative reasons, in some states, elections may not be timely held, like how it happened in Tamil Nadu. But by and large, in most states, after 73rd Amendment Act, elections are all held properly. There is no dispute about that. Misappropriation of funds, no accountability. Yes, very correct answer. The reason is, when it comes to state government development schemes, CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General, has a mandate, constitutional mandate, to go and audit the accounts of center as well as state. But when it comes to panchayats, there is no mandatory provision of audit. No auditing, nothing needs to be done. Panchayats happily are looting, having a good time, because there is no need for audit. That is the reason. So that is why that is a very important important issue facing the panchayats. Accepted, right? And what else? Parallel bodies like kangaroo courts. Okay, parallel. No, 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 no. These. Do you think these panchayats have judicial powers? Do you think the panchayats have been given judicial powers? What is the answer? Do the panchayats have judicial powers as given in the 11th schedule of the Constitution? No, they don't. Judicial powers require judicial training. Judges who are learned should be there for such purposes. So don't think parallel bodies means kangaroo courts, cup panchayats. They are different. No, no, no. Parallel bodies means NGOs. Okay, that is the meaning of parallel bodies. Or you can say it's mostly NGOs only. Panchayats have the function of skill development, that is capacity augmentation of people at the lower levels, taking care of primary healthcare centers. That is a function of panchayats. But what happens is, because of public-private partnerships and all, money is given to NGOs. NGOs will come and set up clinics in villages. They will take care of the functions of panchayats. That is a real problem. That is what is the problem given in your Lakshmikant as the problem of parallel bodies. Okay. Yes, not having any professional training, that's a very, very valid point. The reason why panchayats were brought was to ensure popular participation in administration, because otherwise how things were happening was, you have a district collector, you have a block development officer, you have a village officer. Okay, a village level officer will be there. He will be deciding what is good for the people, what is bad for the people. He will have complete control over the money that is at the village level. So it is to prevent bureaucracy-centric administration. That is why we created a body called as Gram Panchayat. We created a person called as Sarpanch. We gave him financial powers. He can spend money. He can use a signature in office, in files, money. So today in India, in Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, for any work to be taken, if let's say the size of the work is 2 lakh rupees, a 2 lakh rupees work can be executed by the Sarpanch himself. Sarpanch himself can take the work. He will have his own digital signature, and once the work is over, he will he will insert his digital signature, and he will do some work in a software called as Priya Soft, Panchayat Raj Institution software. That is Ministry of Rural Development software, Ministry of Panchayat Raj software. It's called as Priya Soft. So he has to use that Priya Soft. He has to know how to use Priya Soft, uses DSC. He will approve the project, and money will be transferred to the panchayat account. He can spend that money. Okay. But for that, he has to know how to do all these things. Maybe in Tamil Nadu or Kerala, educated people will be there. They will be able to operate laptop and all these things. Internet connectivity might be there. They will be able to take care of all these functions, but not in Odisha. In Odisha, in tribal districts, the Sarpanch has never had exposure to literacy in the first place. He cannot even speak Odia only in the first place, then leave about operating Priya Soft. Okay, so such kind of people with no capacity to central government plans all these kind of things with an assumption that Sarpanches will be able to do that. But no, Sarpanches will not be able to do that. First of all, they won't know how to open the laptop. Even if they know how to open a laptop, they will not know what is internet. First of all, internet connectivity itself is a big problem in such states. So because of all these problems, this guy will be helpless. He will be dependent upon this person. So even though you have an elected head, in a state level, if you have a minister and you have a secretary, the minister is the superior authority. The secretary, IAS officer, is next to the minister. Same is the case in central government also. A union minister is powerful all in all. Secretary is next in line after the minister. But here, equations are reverse. He is more capable, he is more authoritarian, he is more assertive compared to this tribal sarpanch, because he does not know anything about administration. This is also another problem that we actually face in the lower levels. And caste itself is a problem. In central government or in state government, just because a minister is a scheduled caste minister or a scheduled tribe minister, the secretary will not dare to disrespect him, or he cannot do any of these things. But not in panchayats. Tribal sarpanch, a Brahmin village officer, he himself will not have that confidence to come and ask him questions. Same caste feudal mindset still rules the space in villages. Okay, casteism prevents effective participation of elected members. That is also another problem that is faced in Panchayat Raj institutions. What other problems? The other problem is politics. What kind of politics? MLA, tomorrow I'll discuss with you a concept called as DPC, District Planning Committee. A district planning committee makes a plan for urban local bodies and Panchayat Raj together. In that particular district, whatever urban local bodies are there, PRIs are there, putting them, all the members will be there together. They will make a plan for the development of the district as a whole. So MLAs also will be a part of DPCs. Okay. So let's say a particular Gram Panchayat has given a proposal to the DPC. I want one new a culvert or a bridge, because villages are facing problem during rainy season. The entire road is submerged in water. Children are not able to go to the school. So I need a culvert for that purpose. Okay. This MLA will go and talk to the chairman of the DPC. The collector is the chairperson. He goes and tells the collector, when you get this list of projects, don't approve this village. Okay. And in fact, this MLA is from the same political party where that sarpanch is also. Both are from the same political parties. But this MLA will say to the collector, don't approve this project. Why? If this project is approved, sarpanch will become more popular. Once you are a sarpanch continuously for 2 or 3 tenure, you are the next sought after person to be given a MLA ticket in the next upcoming elections. Most probably this MLA would have earned the displeasure of the people. Next, this sarpanch will become the next favorite. He will start eyeing for a MLA ticket. That is why he will do whatever is necessary to prevent the development of that particular village. Politics, this is how it plays out. Okay. So this is also another practical issue that we actually face in panchayats. So these are some of the issues I have pointed out. You may have some other issues also. Maybe you can go read on the internet extensively. You will have some really good research papers, PDFs will be available. You have to find it out yourself, because whatever I have said now, many points you'll find in the textbook. Some points may not be, but now all of you know these points. If you can have your own exclusive points, that will be better. Okay, if you make your own search and you make your own list of points which you present in the answer, it will give a fresh perspective, because the examiner on the day of the exam will be correcting 10 papers, 20 papers. He'll find the same points. But when he comes across your point, which is completely new, that 1 mark, 1.5 marks more than other aspirants. It is by getting one mark in each and every question. That is how slowly you build your position at the top ranks. Okay. So we'll stop here. That is all about panchayats. Yeah, some more aspects have to be discussed with respect to panchayats in tribal areas. So tomorrow I'll discuss with you about 5th schedule areas, 6th schedule areas, PESA Act, and urban local bodies. This is what we'll discuss tomorrow. Okay. So come prepared. Go through these provisions in your Lakshmikant. If you have any doubts, you can come and ask me tomorrow. Okay. Any other doubts? If there are no doubts, then can we conclude? At least, at least press the alphabet yes, just yes and enter. I just want some response. Yes. Okay. All right then. See you guys tomorrow. Thank you.